Play the music. Welcome back to another episode of Metamorphosis. We've been having problems with Brother Neil Frazier's connection. He's been falling off. It happened several times before. He's in, as you can see, the black screen below me, but it's not going through all the way. It's funny. It must be a show coming today, which is, it's that way always, but it's just strange. Brother Neil, did I hear you?
Can you hear me? I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I can't see you though.
Okay. But you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh,
if you can try one more time to pop out and pop back in, that may realign you because we're not getting any visuals of you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. I know something has taken over my my iPad here. I'm not sure, but
we'll just log out, come out of the show completely, and just tap the link and come back in. Okay, let's see. All right. Let's wait for him to come back in. Brother Landon Price, Sister Queen Diane, welcome on in. Thank you for being here. It's going to be interesting today. I had a little content that I made, and you'll put that up later on and do some other stuff. We got to keep it on the roll. My mind is moving smooth, and everything is going the way as it should. Nice and smooth, peaceful, centered. And let me see, is this him here? No. I would hate to have it where we start the live show and okay, there he is. Okay.
Got me now?
Got you, brother. Got you.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's almost like a outside entity is trying to control
that
audio visual. You know how that goes.
Yep.
You know what that means.
Yep. I know how that goes.
You doing, brother?
Doing good.
Never enough time
some
to talk
content.
To you.
Say it again.
Never enough time to talk to you.
Oh, I know. But it's cool because we activate that spirit in each other.
That's right.
And that's what happens. I mean, we can share a little banter before we actually get into the topic because I believe folks would enjoy that. And
oh yeah.
I've been
we're discussing good. how the energy, and again, greetings to you and the family, everybody under the sound of my voice. Always look forward to being and sharing with you on Mondays. So I was telling you that after I started going a little deeper into the because I always look to nature first to get the inspiration I need, right? And of course, nature's our greatest teacher, but a lot of times because of the way we've been taught and indoctrinated, sometimes the signals get crossed. But I told you when I started looking at the cosmic messages for 2025, 2026, your birthday. These dates, these foundational numbers, 369, whenever they show up, then that means something very, very big is coming in our reality. So the fact that this book was written in published in 1963, and 2026 is exactly 63 years later, and then it's your birth year, 63.
Yeah.
We got a lot of cosmic forces coming together, like a movie I saw called, what was it called? It was 4 different storms coming together at one time, and it had never been done before. And so as we look back and when we look at the energy from 1963, it's the exact same, because there is no past, present, and future, right? It's the same energy, the genetic memory bank. We've just been taught to separate the energy or divide it.
And we spoke
But
about that right before the show. Yeah.
What did you say, Lance?
We spoke about that before, we came on.
Yeah.
And I've always internalized that. I've never, I see the markings of time.
Right.
But I've never, from young, and this is something that it wasn't taught to me, but I never looked at it where everything is forever for me. It's like I'm energy, I'm going to be here. I never see the end. I look beyond it.
Right.
There are places I've gone in my spirit from young that I still go to now. We're not talking physical. That place,
I have similar experiences.
That solitude, that peace, that inner thing.
Yeah.
And I can remember.
You know what's interesting about that too, Lance? Is that you have so much energy coming at you all day long. That's very difficult to do that if you don't know. I think I saw one of your videos, you talked about this. If you don't know how to separate yourself, and the fact that people are going to be attacking you because your light draws them. Like I think the analogy you used was when you have that light and those bugs at night, they're drawn to it. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. No, you're right about that though. And everything comes at you.
Right.
I'm just take 90 seconds and say this.
No, go ahead.
But I'm in so many different spaces right now with this solitude that I'm enjoying, or reduced interference, that it's like I form my day. When I get up and I start to think about what I want to accomplish and where I want to go, if I'm going out or even if I'm staying in, I construct my day.
Right.
I project it out, and it always works out fine. And even if a dilemma pops up or presents itself where, like a roadblock, I don't mean a physical roadblock, but just, okay, I plan on doing this, but it may not be good to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. Another answer comes. At the end of the day, everything worked out fine. Because you see what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And I like the word you use, constructing your day. Because again, a lot of people, they base their days based on the energy that comes at them, not what they construct. Or, because you have to decide what you're going to do before you start communicating with the outside world. And like you, I also construct my day. I always use rain, hurricanes, or a fireplace in the rain, like that, things like that when I wake up.
Right.
And even when I sleep, I have it playing, right? So that it's in my subconscious mind. So I've learned how to use all of those things to block out, because a lot of people suffer from insomnia. and that's because their inner spirit is in a chaotic, type of motion. But you have to find a way, like you're saying, to really get solitude, real solitude. And so that's why I'm so excited about today, is because first of all, we're going back and looking at one of our literary giants who actually predicted this time that we're living in today. When you really get into his book, The Fire Next Time, we see that. But as always, brother, we want to go into your banner first.
Oh, yeah. And, here we go.
Yeah, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. So when I constructed this banner, I wanted to emulate the spirit of The Fire Next Time, the actual book, but catapult it into today. And the symbolism and the placement is very important. And like I learned many years ago, I didn't really have to get taught this, but it was confirmed when I went to art school. I was drawing long before art school didn't teach me anything. They just taught me the names of what I was doing. Basically, it was said with any illustration you do, it should speak the story without you putting words on it or without captions.
I like that.
And since I like political illustrations, hand-drawn, you want to draw something by hand that speaks the exact thing that you want to convey without words. And when you put words, it's just to make sure that the slow folks around us get it and not too many words. But since this was the title, of course, I'm going to put it in there unless it was too long. But yeah, I put the presidents, going back a little bit, Abe Lincoln at the end, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump. I'm getting older because there's a lot of presidents in my lifetime, right?
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I had our brothers and sisters, not that they had to be at the bottom, no, but artistically, to have them going across the signage, the chains, accountability, reparations, and truth. You see Washington. And of course, the flag in the background, but the fire is important because that's going to change everything. It's time for the fire now. So, you can have all the good food you want. Unless you want to eat it raw, you need that fire to cook it or the heat to cook it. So we need to cook something now to change the biochemical, spiritual makeup. And it's our right to do so. You see, my thing is we're waiting, not me or you, but a lot of us are waiting. No, the opening in the universe is for us to reach in, reach out, and make the change happen. We can't miss this window of opportunity. And I don't think it's a small window. I think we're at the edge, and it's the end of the time for them.
Yeah.
Who have exploited us and ruled over us, and we know the rape and rob, and we know all of that stuff. But now, it's like feeling broke, and I'll shut up after this, but it's like feeling broke all week and you don't get paid to the next week. And you're cutting corners and eating a little bit of food and, taking public transportation, leave the car at home. And you get into this mindset that you're waiting for your paycheck. But then when you go home that night and do your laundry, you realize you had $800 stuffed in a pocket that you forgot was in there. Right? So you had the funds all along, but you didn't realize it. We have the power all along at this particular time, but a lot of us don't realize it. We think we have to sit and wait. Well, we'll wait for reparations. But reparations may not come to us from the government in the way that we think it will come.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And it's almost like you remember how they used to have this it's like a little fairy tale where the fox and the carrot, and it's always jumping up to try to get the carrot, but the carrot keeps going further and further away. And like you said, we actually are the reparations. Okay. And so when you think of it and look at it that way, then we know that we are the ones that can bring this about. But yeah, I love that banner because, like it or not, our presidents, each president has an effect on the way that people view America.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is always this battle, you know, between, well, it really, and this is something I like about what James Baldwin brought out in this book, this groundbreaking book, The Fire Next Time, is that fire helps us in terms of dealing with what's really in front of us and what's inside of us. You can't
Mm-hmm.
fake it, in other words.
Right.
And I like the way, you know, being from your home state, from Harlem, and the experiences that people learned in New York and Harlem during that time with the Harlem Renaissance was very significant.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go into this today, brother. Again, I greet you and the family. And this is when I really started the night before Monday, usually Sunday nights, is when I turn all of my spiritual energy into the presentation after I've already, you know, done the work on it.
Right.
But I want to start out with the picture of the visual of the sun. And the reason why I want to do that, yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Man, that is, you know, the sun is probably, and I know why the people who write narratives and have written the false history, the fake history, why they don't connect with sun energy. I know why. I know you know, I know the family knows. But what we have to do is, just like you were talking about in art, because our people in the original language, in the Medu, everything was in artistic form. There were no vowels were added later for people to try to comprehend what it was, even though the furthest they got was demotic. They never was able, because it's not, we called it the language of the spirit. Okay. And that has a very great significance with what we're dealing with today. But I was talking about this with you earlier, Lance. I want to go through this so we can set the stage for what we're going to go into today. We're living in a time, really, that cosmically speaking is a move into a new cycle or a new vortex, like you mentioned. We're moving into that phase right now. And so we know we use the word awakening, woke. This is why they get so angry when we co-opt our own words back. But this year, 2026, cosmically or numerically, however you want to look at it, represents transformation. It represents the beginning of something new. So I'm just going to go into this a little bit. Okay, so the cosmic meaning of the number 10, cosmically, the number 10 means completion and new beginnings at a higher level. It represents a full cycle returning to unity, and it combines the number 1, which means origin, source, or creation. And in base 10 mathematics, it marks a threshold or a vortex. Because after now, when we look at the year 2025, that was just the setup, like the opening, because that comes out numerically to the number 9. But in 2025, everything resets. That was the year of the reset, where we had the solar eclipse on your birthday. And that it's symbolizing evolution rather than repetition. So in other words, we can't go back to the way we were thinking before. We have to revolutionize our thinking. Okay, it's also the number of cosmic order and structure, which is a pattern underlying reality or manifestation. And that's why we're seeing what we see in our world today.
Right.
Because again, we're living in a phase and a time of renewal. It also signifies completion and fulfillment. It signals the end of a cycle or a karma resolves. So in other words, whatever karma or consequences associated with the previous cycle, okay, that time is up or it's over. Okay, also, if there's some growth that has been achieved, okay, but divine alignment, because it blends unity, one, with infinite potential, zero. And it symbolizes alignment between the individual self and the universal, cosmic, or divine consciousness. Okay. Or we can look at it like the Akashic records. It also symbolizes rebirth at a higher level. It implies starting again with wisdom instead of narratives. And it's evolution, not repetition. So it also represents order and sacred law or divine structure and moral order. And that's why I was saying I like the term you use, constructing your day, because that's actually how cosmic law is structured. But because we don't follow that, we follow religion and the narratives of men, then we give our power away. But it signifies order and sacred law, divine structure, and moral order. And the fact that all morality has been tossed out of the window in our nation, then we know this is signifying something that is against natural and divine order. When we look at the sacred law of geometry, okay, or sacred geometry, 10 is linked to totality and perfection. Also, it's linked to the cycles of life: birth, completion, renewal. Okay. And then you have come full circle. So number 10, 2026 means that everything is going to begin again, but at a higher level. And this is why you have people trying to pull you back 100 years. Because again, they're consulting with these fake people they call astrologists that's actually telling them there is something happening. And see, you are the greatest. That's why I always say to our people, Lance this to our people, that look, you have got to connect your mindset with your etheric spirit, which is in nature. You cannot, first of all, you don't have any power living in a system that you've been, and James Baldwin is going to prove that to us today, that you don't control the dynamics of what you put out. We're not talking about the uploads we get from, counterfeit spirits. We're talking about what's actually, and the sun is the greatest representation of this power we have here on the planet.
Yes.
So, the number 10 also means you're closing one chapter of life and beginning a new phase or cycle that includes awareness, and that endings are actually gateways. Okay. So we talked about the fact that 1963 And so much happened in 1963. We're going to touch on a few of those. And this is why we have to stay connected to our genetic memory bank, because the Creator is telling us what's happening now. So you don't need to be frustrated by it. You just need to get in alignment with it. Okay. But whenever you see these three foundational numbers, 3, 6, and 9, okay, and we see that in the 63-year period between 1963 and 2026. So we're living in that energy right now. Yeah, so we're living in that energy right now. So yeah, thank you, brother. I want to put up that picture of James Baldwin, the fire, next time, and kind of get into, yes, James Baldwin was someone that fought in the real war that our people have fought in, and he was right on the front line. He was someone that many of us may not agree with his lifestyle, but that's his choice. But the thing that he gave us,
Yes.
and the time that he lived in, and our greatest people that lived during that era that he met with, we're going to see how that all evolved.
Let me just interject, brother. I wanted to say that, look, we know his private flavor.
Right.
But one thing that I look up to him for is that he knew who he is first.
Yes. Yes.
And my problem with many who fly the rainbow flag, but they're chocolate, is that they forfeit their blackness many times, thinking that they are accepted by the others because of them claiming that, that's how they fly. But they're not accepted by them.
Right.
And many.
Right.
Now I know a lot of sisters and brothers who are on that side, and they got it straight, pun intended.
Yeah.
They got it straight where move as a black man and a woman first. Show that concern first. Don't turn your back on our struggle because you think that you're loved by these other people because of what you do in your personal life. That's your personal life. Meet me on the level of who we really are first and foremost.
Yeah. And that was a great quality that he had. And he also mentioned a lot of the struggles, because back during that time, our people wasn't as accepting of that lifestyle. Right. So, but he was aware of that. And, eventually he moved to Paris. But this book, were you finished, brother?
Oh yeah, no, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because no matter what, we can't legislate other people's lives.
Right.
First of all, I don't have time. I know you don't have time. You don't have time to do that. But you have to make a choice based on, how things are constructed for you. But this book, The Fire Next Time, is very interesting. And I want to talk about fire in its spiritual and its manifested form or physical form, which we focus a lot on the physical reality. And so we miss the duality of especially the elements in nature. But purification and transformation. And that fire is a classic symbol of cleansing, judgment, and rebirth. Fire represents a coming or reckoning or transformation if growth doesn't occur. So in other words, I've given you the space and the time to grow. not to go back 100 years. So if you don't do that, you can call it karma, you can call it consequences, whatever you want to call it, but there is a reckoning coming as a result of that. Okay, and it's natural. It's not somebody like we do trying to take revenge on somebody, right, or hurt somebody's feelings, or to debase somebody because you're really inferior, but you think you're superior. But it's based on the fact that if I've given you this opportunity, and America has been given that opportunity and chose something different, so it's no need in crying about it now. Okay, but the fire is here, and as we talked about the cosmic language, okay, that has shown us that the year 63 is the year that this energy that we're living in now. So fire has held a powerful symbolic role across cultures because of its dual nature. It destroys, but it also reveals. Okay, it purifies and it transforms. It's something that forces truth to the surface by stripping everything else away. And at its most basic level, fire eliminates what can't endure it. Now, it's a lot in that, okay? Because like that sun we just looked at, if you can't endure it, you're going to get wiped away. And see, that's the type of language that nature teaches us. Okay. Also, it forces the truth to the surface. And at its basic level, fire eliminates what can't endure it. And in a spiritual sense, that's often interpreted in a kind of judgment or reckoning, right?
I'm back, brother. Sorry to interrupt you. Had a power outage, so I'm on the phone right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I blinked out and the screen changed for a second. So I'm going to go through.
I thought you had something to do. Yeah.
Oh, no. This time is always reserved for you, brother. But yes, I'm going to find the photos again that I uploaded. But through the phone, it may be a little difficult to retrieve. So,
of course,
that's what I'm looking for now. And
okay.
Yes, we can get back on track that way. Sorry about that, brother.
Okay, I appreciate it. No, that's just another example of how we don't control nature. it does what it does. And in a lot of ways, that's a good thing for us. But the example I want to give is, just as a wildfire burns through a forest, removing dead wood and undergrowth, fire in myth and philosophy exposes what is essential, versus what is excessive or false. So when you have all of this excessive greed, the only thing that's going to change that is fire. Okay. The other thing is, this is why many traditions associated fire with truth, because it leaves nothing hidden. And that's the great part about fire, okay? In its spiritual and psychological sense, is that it leaves nothing hidden, that it burns everything up so that everything will be exposed or bare or raw, however you want to look at it. But more importantly, you can replant the soil, and use it again. Okay, at its core, fire represents transformation. And this is something that James Baldwin in this work, he really, Now, when you listen at Martin Luther King and the language of morality that he used, James Baldwin was someone that confronted this hypocrisy. Okay, so it was more from a ethical perspective than a moral perspective, although it included that as well. Physically, fire turns one substance into another, such as wood into ash, or raw food into cooked food, like you mentioned earlier. So spiritually, it's often linked to personal change. People associate fire with burning away the old habits, pain, egos, etc., to make space for something new. So we always see this element of fire that it destroys in order to bring forth something new. And that's why it shows up in rituals about renewal or rebirth. And that fire is also a symbol of purification. So whenever we see fire manifested, okay, in our physical reality, we know there's a deeper meaning behind that, not just individually, but collectively, nationally, and globally, and universally. It's also an energy and life force. Fire is active, dynamic, and impossible to ignore. You can't ignore, oh, there's a fire, because you can hear a fire truck a mile away. Okay, when there's a fire, people gonna be running out the house, yelling at the top of their lungs, trying to let other people know there's a fire.
Right.
Okay, you can't ignore it. It also, spiritually, it can represent passion, motivation, and inner drive, or the living fire that our ancestors on these plantations used to mention. It's also representative of the spark that pushes someone to act or create. And we were saying earlier that we are the reparations.
Yes.
Because that fire, it pushes people to act or create something, okay? Some kind of way, it forces you to create it. And so this fire is within, okay? And then you manifest it on the outside. It also represents destruction and danger, not in a purely negative sense. Remember, it's dual nature. Fire destroys, but that destruction is often seen as necessary for renewal. So, in other words, and I've heard you say this before, Lance, I may not be saying it directly, but the concept of what you were saying, I always get, is that if you have a little bit of something and you take it back to the camp, it's going to affect that whole camp.
That's right.
Okay. So the thing about fire is, oh yeah, it's destructive. And you might look at it in a negative sense, but it's necessary to cleanse. And I remember when I first heard this in the Old Testament, I was like, God, how in the world could you kill the men, women, and children and wipe all of them out? And finally, I understood and comprehended the concept is that whatever that thing is, it has to be gutted and rooted.
Right.
And fire is the best way to do that. Okay. So again, forest fires are a great example. It clears and it clears dead growth, and so that new life can emerge. And spiritually, this can reflect periods in life where things fall apart. Well, you know how you feel like you hit rock bottom. So something stronger can take its place.
Renewal, exactly.
Renewal, exactly, renewal. The old must be eliminated for new birth to emerge. So this is why you have the cocoon experience, or the chrysalis, that that caterpillar has to be, for lack of a better, to connect it with our concept today, that fire has to burn it completely. Yes. And maybe that's a different type of fire that doesn't, So, and also its connection to the divine or sacred, as we mentioned earlier. And in many traditions, flames are used in ceremonies as a bridge between the physical and spiritual world, or it's alive. Now, before we get into the presentation, Lance, I want to go through the visuals real quick.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know. I got it right here.
Okay, so let's look at any one of the fire images you have. I'll go with that. Okay. I believe there's 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So when we look, and you look at this closely, you see on the side the word food. Okay. And because it's a food store, a grocery store. Now, symbolically, what I'm trying to convey here is that symbolically and spiritually and metaphorically, that the food prices being raised is a sort of reckoning, okay? Because whenever we see fire, we associate that with some form of reckoning. We've already proven that through the cosmetic language, okay? Cosmic language or universal language. So when we look at this and we see what's happening today with the food prices,
oh yeah,
they might as well burn up the grocery stores, because yeah, I mean it's there are people that say that they go in and they spend $100 on food and they got 2 bags of groceries.
2 small bags sometimes.
Yeah. 2 small bags. And it's really gotten, and then on top of that, they're eating mainly GMOs, because it's almost double. In order to eat, well, of course, it depends on, your eating habits. But if you're not used to eating fruit and drinking, lemonade or whatever all day, or at some point in your diet,
right.
And I'm not saying there are things I like that I shouldn't be eating, but
yeah,
overall,
for the most part, yeah, that's most people for the most part.
Oh yeah,
but you're aware. You're aware of that,
Yes, exactly, and I also incorporate it in my day.
Right.
No matter what else I eat, there's going to be, like this morning, I always eat oatmeal and sometimes eggs or bananas or oranges, right, or whatever I have, I put in it. The good thing is I cut out sugar,
right,
completely about 6 months ago.
That's good though.
Yeah. I feel a lot better. And, so the main thing is that, and then again, if you want to look at it in that sense, it forces renewal. Like we were saying earlier, fire forces you to, so maybe people start growing more food.
Right.
Buying seeds, or like your wife, planting food.
Yes. Well, it's funny you say that, because sometimes here up on the mountain, and they're building a few more houses up here, but it's never going to be overcrowded. There's so much land up here that with the open land, that, say, for example, somebody owns that few acres of land here and there. They may live in the UK, they may live in the United States or somewhere. They might be here in Ghana.
Okay.
And they'll have some of the locals come by and burn everything down to the ground on that land. It wasn't nothing high on there anyway. And so you're laying in the bed and you hear this click, 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 like the crackling of the flames. Then you look outside and you see a huge fire. They're not like the United States here where they run you down and say, why are you burning this? You can burn whatever you want. The houses are concrete, right? But then they burn it because
all
that's
the houses
preparing.
are concrete?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's poured concrete, cinder blocks, and solid. So there's no fear of it burning that way.
Right.
So I meant to say that when it's burnt down, whatever there is charcoaled out, burnt out, they plant corn.
Yeah.
And because of everything being burnt, the corn grows fast and it is good for the soil to burn it down. So what you're saying is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
It's setting up for new growth.
Yes. And this is the message that, the creative spirit is telling us, some people right now, maybe you should buy some seeds and grow, some food. Right. Because I don't see these prices going down anytime soon.
No.
I don't see them going down. Okay, brother, let's go to the next picture then.
Okay.
Same thing. Symbolically, no pun intended for the corporation that's represented there. But this is a gas station.
Right.
What is happening with the gas? The gas is going out off the roof. Okay. And symbolically speaking, we see a form of reckoning where fire is burning through I heard some people saying that the gasoline now is, how you say you have a base of something and you pour water in it.
Right.
I hear people saying they're diluting the gasoline now.
I've heard that.
To stretch it out.
Yeah.
So again, we see this fire that's involved in this situation, which is also a part of spiritual reckoning. All right, brother?
Yes.
Here's the big one. See, all of these things are not just happening, okay? All of this is tied to the phase, cycle, vortex that we have entered, okay? And we see the oil rigs of the world are on fire, symbolically. Because when you shut down the Strait of Hormuz, I think it's 20% of the world's global oil comes through there, then you might as well burn up the oil rigs. Because that's what it's doing. And it's burning through people's pockets or the pockets of countries.
Amazing.
So we go ahead, brother.
No, I said amazing.
Yeah. So we see all these signs of fire all around us, but the reason why we don't interpret it because we're not in alignment with nature. We still listen to what people say on the TV about these things, because first of all, they're lying.
Right.
And so we never know what the truth is. They may tell us 10% of the truth, but we can read through nature ourselves what is happening. And this thing that's going on, whatever it is with oil, it's like the oil rigs are on fire because we don't have access to it like we used to.
You're right.
And it's going to affect, brother, wait till the winter time gets here. Well, on the East Coast.
Yes.
Because of you got to have air conditioning running on the East Coast. Okay. Your ass gonna burn up from that. You're gonna burn up from that. I'm looking for the word. That humidity is wicked out there.
No, it is. But think about the winter time, man, when it gets
Oh,
cold.
that's what I'm saying. This is when we're really going to see this reckoning. The other thing is the grids. There's going to be a major fight going on for who's controlling the grids, brother. 2026, everything is going to burn down. This is not Neil Frazier saying this. This is the signs in the cosmos that I'm reading, okay, that is saying this. And not only that, it's being manifested in our world today. I believe the last one is about the crops. Now, this one really is in our face, okay? And no matter what you do, fire is going to burn all of this down. And symbolically, we see that now. There's nothing that can change this. I don't care. You can call back whoever you want after. Your racism is the one that caused these problems. But now the spiritual reckoning for America is here. Okay.
Right.
And this fire that's burning down these crops, okay, is going to wipe all of them out in every state where crops are growing. Because as we have always said, the Netaru cannot be stopped by man. That is impossible. Okay. All right, brother. Well, let's get into the presentation today. Thank you with the visuals. Again, this book is so powerful because it really does, when we connect again with our genetic memory bank, because see, again, the counterfeit spirits know what time it is. So they're doing all these things to take you back 100 years.
Yes.
Because, huh?
But I said, yes, you're right.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely know. Now, because they're not connected to the sun, they don't have power over it. Like this one counterfeit spirit, a Luciferian, was saying to block the sun. That's impossible. Man does not have that type of power. So let's get into this book, which was great. The Fire Next Time, America's Spiritual Reckoning. Or the name of the book was The Fire Next Time. I added the America's Spiritual Reckoning. And we see that in 1963, James Baldwin confronted this. So whatever his preferences in life, he sure grew some balls when it came to confronting this in 1963.
Mm-hmm. For real.
Oh, yeah, for real. Because that was also the year they assassinated Medgar Evers, who James Baldwin, and we're going to talk about this, but he confronted issues like race, religion, identity, or national identity, and the moral obligation of America and its creed. Okay. He directly confronted that. James Baldwin is one of the few literary people, and we've had quite a few, that have directly called them out over America's hypocrisy. Also, it was the year, as we spoke about, that Medgar Evers was assassinated, who James Baldwin, he was also a man of action. He went to Mississippi and he met with Medgar Evers. Baldwin addresses the everyday realities of Black Americans under the shadow of racism. And he also challenges the hypocrisy or hypocrisies of American ideals and calls for a collective reckoning to avert destruction. Now, this was in 1963. Yet the same energy for our people exists today. And you're telling me that these people are not whatever, whoever the mediums or astrologers they're meeting with have not told them about this? Also, it's drawn from the actual title is drawn from a spiritual hymn, which warns that without meaningful change, the nation may face destruction akin to biblical fire. Now, also in 1963 was the famous and iconic March on Washington, so James Baldwin met with the greatest, and I don't like that term civil rights, and not that I don't like it, but it takes away because they try to, what's the word I'm looking for? They try to decontextualize the importance of it. Mm-hmm. But each one of these great men and women had a profound impact on our nation. And he met with Medgar Evers. He met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He debated Malcolm X. I remember that debate. And he met with MLK. Well, actually, he marched with MLK. So he was on the front line. He was somebody that was qualified to speak about this. Not like you have a lot of people sitting back today, talking and never been out trying to do anything to change for things for the better for our people. But they're constantly criticizing, and we know what that's about.
And wanting to be seen on an ego level, instead of putting in the work. And there is a time to be seen, understood, but there's more time putting in the work unseen, building a foundation. You see what I mean? So a lot of these guys, of course, we know online. We know that's what the most of it is about. Mm-hmm. But who is really putting in the work? Because this shows you, and I'm going to say it in a slang way, how bad Malcolm X was. Bad meaning good. That he didn't have a Facebook page. There was no internet. There was no, even
Isn't that something?
Exactly. It caught on. This is to show you how bad Marcus Garvey was. You see what I mean?
Yes.
There was no internet, no text, no smartphone, yet they reached the masses and got them spirited.
That's amazing.
Exactly. And now we have all of this, and there's so many people with brands, and yes, we do need people to make discussions, but many people now are presenting themselves like there's some leader, and it's manufactured, and the talk is so sweet that many people go in and believe and allow them to sway their mind to the point where they really believe this person. I would never say you influence sometime, but as a servant to help people get things out there, look, I'm like the toilet cleaner or the one who sweeps the floor, man. We should honor those who have the real ability. You see what I mean? That's why I say, when you call me, or if you say, hey, Lance, I know we didn't schedule anything, but we have to do something tonight. I'm canceling whatever plans I have, and I'm going to do it because I know my role. Many of us don't know our roles, and we just want to be at the pulpit. We want to be, standing up in front of the masses and talking somebody else's talking points. Right. You do your research and you come with it. That's why it comes from the heart. It comes directly from the Creator. And that's why what you do is so effective. And I'll always be here for you.
Well, I know you're proving that, brother, over the years. So I have no doubt about that. But figuratively and literally, a plumber is probably one of the top 3 important people on the planet. Because what if all the shit got stopped up? We'd have a real problem.
Well, that goes along with the joke of the body parts speaking on how important their body part is. And it came down to the backside, and he said, listen, if I back up, all are messed up.
There you go. There you go. But that highlights too, and I thank you for the kind words, brother. I know what you mean metaphorically. Which you away. I mean, you're somebody that's really connected universally, and that your energy is a major reason why we successfully do what we do, regardless to how other people interpret it, which is not important. But
Right.
the thing that they do that's so effective, that's still affecting us, is that they're making us attack each other when we should be in the renewal phase or rebirth phase.
Exactly.
And so this is why we are kind of like stuck in neutral, and you can have, I remember I used to say that this is why you can have someone that can quote all the scriptures in the Bible, go to church 2 or 3 times a week,
Yep.
give their money to the Azul system, and feel like they, through religious means, are more connected to the creator and creative spirit than you, don't know that they are under these counterfeit spirits and what they're worshiping. And it's a sad situation, but
it is.
I want to say that too, with that, is that the church served its purpose for our people. One of the other real mistakes that we're making, the church can play a role in today's world through being a place where people organize. And one of the reasons why people like Marcus Garvey, and you were talking about earlier, and Malcolm X, who had none of the devices we have of technology, is that the church was used for a communication tool.
Yes. Yes.
It was not used for you to be up in there and then looking down on your brothers and sisters. It was not used for that. And James Baldwin really confronts and addresses this contradiction. See, and he did this through, go ahead, brother.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything.
Oh, and he does this through basically 2 essays that he wrote. The first one was called My Dungeon Ship. Okay, and it was a letter to his nephew, or some people refer to it as a letter to my nephew. But he wrote a letter to his nephew, and Baldwin expressed great concern for the challenges that his nephew will face as a young Black man in America, and the psychological challenges he will face, primarily the perception that Blacks are inferior to whites. And he was very concerned about that. Obviously, he was someone that was in connection, with his spiritual side as well, right, in the sense that he really sought this, and we're going to see in this work, he really went down the rabbit hole to really grasp the real, true nature of America. He urges his nephew not to internalize this false narrative or measure his worth by the standards of a society that dehumanizes him. Yeah. He also explains how society's perception of Black people as inferior and expendable is a deliberate lie designed to sustain white supremacy. And we know that as a fact because they use these same tools. Now, here's a man speaking in 1963 America, and this is what they mean by going back again, because I don't even quote what they say. This is what they mean about this, is that it's a deliberate lie. That's why they're always with the low IQ stuff and all this. Yeah, when you say I'm low IQ, I take that as a badge of honor when you say that, because that means I need to go back to kindergarten to get that mess out of me. Okay. And he also addressed the role of white Americans. Baldwin challenges white Americans to confront their own complicity in maintaining racial oppression. He argues that their inability to face the truth about their history and privilege perpetuates injustice. Now, he was spot on about that, because that is the exact, and I want to read that again, because this is where we find ourselves today, okay, right here. And he directly confronted, and remember, they were killing black folks for talking like this in 1963, okay? The role of white Americans. Baldwin challenges white Americans to confront their own complicity in maintaining racial oppression. He argues that their inability to face the truth about their own history and privilege perpetuates injustice. He states that true liberation requires white Americans to abandon the myths of superiority and acknowledge the humanity of black people. He calls for the practice of transformative love. And this type of love has the power to transcend hatred and fear, enabling both black and white Americans to imagine a new, more equitable future. So again, America for 63 years has been given the opportunity to right this wrong. Okay. But now we have an issue where white Americans have chosen to oppose the Creator. Okay, they have chosen this, even, using whole nother religion or nationalism or Christian nationalism to show that they're separated from the Creator. They're not hiding this. It's our people that can't accept. And the other thing I wanted to say, that religion served its purpose for our people on the plantation. But as I often say, I heard somebody say one time that religion today for black people, or Christianity, is like someone crossing a river and then carrying the boat on land on their back.
Okay. Oh, for real? Wow.
Yeah. And so it's at a point where Black America is at a reckoning too. You're not going to escape this. So if you want to continue to do these things, okay, and stay in the spirit of these people, then that's on you. With this hateful rhetoric and all of this division, and not concentrate on what clearly the Creator is showing us, then that's on you. Okay. Then he talked about how he criticized the American dream as a construct built on the exploitation of black labor and the denial of black humanity. And Dr. Claude Anderson wrote a brilliant book on this, Black Labor, White Wealth. If you haven't read it, you should. But again, he criticizes the American dream as a construct built on the exploitation of black labor and the denial of black humanity. And Baldwin warns that unless America confronts its history and dismantles systemic racism, it will remain in a cycle of inequality and violence. And we can see that from 1963 to the present of 2026. He also made another great point in this first essay, the role of fear. Baldwin identifies fear as a central driver of racism, and that it was at the heart of American racism, and that white Americans, he argues, fear losing their power and privilege, while Black Americans live in fear of violence and dehumanization. Or we're always fighting for civil rights. Why is that necessary? And this mutual fear creates a destructive dynamic that prevents meaningful dialogue and change. And to overcome this, Baldwin calls for courage. The courage to face uncomfortable truths, to question deeply held beliefs, and to imagine a more just society. And you know, I guess like everybody else, I thought that was the role of Congress. I didn't know it was to go along with everything that's destroying American people or America. How does that make America first?
Right.
So all of these contradictions, just like everything else in all their institutions, all you have to do is open your eyes and see it. It's right in plain sight. In his second essay, he talked about, or he named it, Down at the Cross. Okay. And then he talks, in this essay, he talked about his personal experiences growing up as a boy in Harlem and, you know, becoming a preacher at an early age and the impact of religion. Let's just let him talk about it. When he met with JFK. Okay, like I said, James Baldwin didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. He met with the President of the United States and confronted him about this. And like I said, he also met with the other powerful people of our day. The MLK, Medgar Evers, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I think he met with, what's her name, Fannie Lou Hamer. But he talked about a personal journey with faith. And like all of us that grew up in America, we grow up the same way, okay? Particularly during that time. The second essay is more extensive and deeply personal, recounting Baldwin's relationship with Christianity and his journey towards spiritual and intellectual liberation. As a teenager in Harlem, Baldwin found refuge in the church, where he becomes a preacher. Initially, religion provided him with a sense of purpose and community, but over time, he grew disillusioned with its contradictions. Baldwin criticizes Christianity as a tool of oppression, arguing that it has been used to justify slavery, segregation, and the subjugation of Black people. And he contends that the church, instead of addressing systemic racism, often reinforces it by promoting submission and deference to white supremacy. Also, he addressed America's moral crisis, which we experience today in 2026, not just in 1963. And he talks about America's original sin, or I like to refer to it as a crimogenic society. Baldwin situates America's racial divide within its broader history describing racism as the nation's original sin. He highlights the hypocrisy of a country that proclaims liberty and equality while systemically oppressing Black people. This contradiction, he stated, threatens the moral foundation of America. And that's the same thing today. And he was spot on with that. And like everything else, you know, he actually experienced something before he wrote about it. And, you know, all of us who have been through this experience knows what he's talking about. Okay. And this is why you're going to have the fire. I remember the people back in the day used to say that judgment is going to begin in the house of the Lord, which is a form of fire, because you can't have judgment without fire. Okay. He also talked about fire as a purifier, which I look at it as well, is that there is also a strong connection between fire and purification. And in various religious and philosophical systems, fire is seen not merely as destructive, but as cleansing. Okay, very important. In nature, metals are refined in fire, impurities are burned off. And spiritually, this becomes a metaphor for inner reckoning, confronting one's flaws, attachments, or illusions, so that something clearer and more authentic can emerge. It's not gentle, and that fire rarely is, but it's purposeful. Now, I'm going to read that again, because see, when you're talking about America's at a crossroads, because if you choose to go away from the creator and creatrix spirit, then we already know what the outcome is going to be. We're not going back, okay? You don't see nothing in nature that has a reverse metamorphosis. All it does is it goes back to the earth or goes back to wherever it came from. But it does not reverse its living nature. Okay. So when you choose to do that just to destroy the hopes and dreams of a people that built your nation and invented things, America would be a fifth world country without the inventions of Black people. And I'll say that again. Without that is a fact. And so, see, that, and we know about, in terms of the production through tobacco, cotton, and all the other industries that our people toiled in the fields to produce, sugarcane, indigo, all of these things. So now, again, the sun has recorded all of this. And when you do that to the creator creatrix children, you can't just walk away scot-free from that. I don't know what part of that you don't comprehend and understand, but I'm pretty sure you're starting to understand it now. No words, nothing can repair that except like the vision that James Baldwin had of the creator's transformative love and creatrix. Anything below that, and that requires you to use fire. And when white Americans get together, you have to stop this pretending. We have to look at the nation where it's grown from. I don't know why you want to take it back. Well, I do know why you want to take it back, but that makes no sense at all because Black people are not going anywhere. Okay. We were here before you got here, and we'll be here long after you're gone. That is a fact.
That's right.
As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Okay. But this is so very important because nature is letting America know that you still have an out. But you're going to burn your own house down. Like when Martin Luther King finally recognized, I may have led my people into a burning house of fire. Okay. I'm going to read this again because fire as a purifier is where our people need to put their mindset. Okay. There's a strong connection between fire and purification. In various religious and philosophical systems, fire is seen not merely as destructive, but as cleansing. So when you get in these fake churches and talk about cleansing, there isn't any cleansing really being done. It's religious rituals. Because nobody is addressing what's actually going on. And you could pray till the cows come home. That ain't going to change anything. Okay, also in nature, our greatest teacher, again, it shows us this truth, this absolute truth. And absolute truths can only be found in nature, but you have been tricked that somebody can give you narratives and preach to you, and that's some kind of absolute truth. Okay, but metals are refined in fire. Impurities are burned off. So spiritually, this becomes a metaphor for inner reckoning. The nation has to do an inner reckoning. Okay. Also, confronting one's flaws, attachments, or illusions so that something clearer and more authentic can emerge. So here's the major contradiction in religion or in Christianity that exists in America is that instead of this transformative love that the individual that you quote all day long talk about, you're going in the opposite direction of what they talked about. Now, how does that make sense? Or how do you explain this? Also, fire is not gentle, and it rarely is, but it's purposeful. Also, fire as transformer. Fire represents transformation. So right now, there's a transformation taking place, and we showed the visuals in all the areas that this is happening. And you can't depend on these people that have you in this condition. And so they have taught you to hate each other so much. As Malcolm said, who taught you to hate each other? They got other groups hating on you. And instead of you looking at what our transformative power is, you're getting involved in this quagmire. Okay. And fire, unlike water or earth, which tends to preserve or sustain something, fire changes things. Remember that. So the fire you saw in all of those areas on the visual through the sun, it changes things. So things have changed. They're going to continue to change because of the cosmic alignment of the number 10, which 2026 represents. So you can continue to ignore this and get caught up into these counterfeit spirits and what they're putting out. But we're going to, like a joke I used to like to tell when this guy drowned and went to the mythical heaven, he got in front of God and said, well, God, why did you let me drown? He said, well, I sent a boat for you and you refused to get on the boat. I sent a ship for you and you refused to get on. I sent an airplane for you to rescue you out of the water. So, but you're standing in front of me now asking me, why did I let you drown? Get out of my face. You got to be out of your mind. And so that's what the situation is with us. Believe it or not, we don't have to beg anybody for anything. Fire as transformer. So fire represents transformation. And as I said, unlike water or earth, which tend to preserve or sustain sustain things, fire changes things irreversibly. That's the word I left out. So in other words, there's no going back to that. Fire changes that irreversibly. You can't reverse nature. That's the other thing. These people that have you living in fear with all of the wicked stuff that they're doing, they still cannot reverse what is in nature. You just have to realign what you're doing. Wood, here's some examples again. Wood becomes ash, ore becomes metal, raw food becomes nourishment, and in a spiritual framework, that transformation can symbolize rebirth or renewal. The idea that something must end for something new to begin. Okay, so again, we have to end white supremacy. We have no choice. Okay. If America is not going to stand on that. That is a fact. The cosmic language has already spoken, has already told us this. So I don't know what's going to happen as a result of this effort and energy to push back time. That's a big mistake. Also, this is why fire often appears in rites of passage or apocalyptic imagery. It marks a threshold, or as Lance mentioned earlier, a vortex. And finally, we'll talk about the last two things that fire represents. Fire's association, getting tongue-tied now, with awareness and consciousness. Let me say that again. Fire's association with awareness and consciousness. Another layer of fire is its association with awareness or consciousness. A flame illuminates things, making the unseen visible. In this sense, fire as a reckoning agent can represent insight. Okay. The moment when reality becomes undeniable. So it's undeniable what's happening right now. You can turn a blind eye to it, you can ignore it, you can do whatever. But that's not going to change what's the transformation that's taking place, because this fire has also connected with some people's awareness, or like they try to trash the word woke. I'm so happy our people are woke, because now we're connected with divine consciousness, which the reason why they demonize it is because they have no connection with this power. I don't know why you can't see this or refuse to claim this. Also, it's the light that exposes but also the heat that makes avoidance impossible. So in other words, it brings light, but you got to be careful with light, okay? I mean, fire and light, because once the light, it's like the roaches. When the light is turned on, they scatter, okay, for a reason. You might see some of them later, but most of them are scattered. But it also makes avoiding this light and fire impossible. And see, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because see, people need to comprehend something here. The fire is what's bringing out what we see in our nation today. That is a fact. So you might look at individuals and say, oh yeah, well, they're this or they're that. But you're giving them too much credit, because the creator creator is in control of this. And you've been given an opportunity to correct this, but you have chosen not to. Again, because of your hatred for some people. And we all know that this is true. And finally, what James Baldwin addressed and confronted directly was the ethical dimension of fire. Fire is also the idea that what cannot withstand the reality, its reality will be burned up. I'll say that again. The ethical dimension of fire also highlights the idea that what cannot withstand the reality of the sun and fire will be burned up. We know that in nature. Okay, and as we mentioned earlier, that the truth is exposed by spiritual fire and its reckoning that comes along with it. Finally, there's an ethical dimension people often project onto fire. It acts without bias. In other words, it doesn't care how much money you have. It doesn't care how many cars you own. It doesn't care how many houses you have. It doesn't care how many corporations you have. Okay. Real nature and real divine justice has no bias. Because see, in the eyesight of the creator creatrix spirit, there is no separation with you, no matter what you think about your IQ or whatever. And first of all, the highest IQ person on the planet cannot come like a drop in the ocean to the creator creatrix wisdom. They just have to align themselves with it. It acts without bias and it burns whatever is in its path. Okay. It can symbolize an important force of nature or justice. Not moral in a human sense, but in the absolute divine law, which I was just speaking about. This is an absolute law. And if you don't believe it, start a fire in one of them churches, y'all sitting up and clapping in to see how fast everybody run out. I guarantee you that you're not going to just sit in there. And you know, that reminds me of, like I said, the Old Testament was my favorite because I always saw it as historical and spiritual knowledge beyond the narratives. But there was a prophet called Elijah. And I think he was, there was a battle, or we call it today a beef, between the, I think they were like prophets of Baal or something like that. And the whole idea and the concept was that my God answers by fire. And so they put like a big urn with water in it, or a bathtub. And Elijah said, well, you go first. And the prophets of Baal or Baal, or the same Azul entity that we know that they have our people worshiping, and that they worship through these rituals and other things that they do in these industries. They prayed, they scratched themselves till they was bloody and did all kind of things. I think it was like 4 or 5 of them. No answer by fire. But Elijah, in one time, called out to the Creator. And it not only sucked up the water, but it burnt up the prophets of Baal and everything else that was around it. That's the kind of power you have. And that power has been taken away from you. Because, see, the Bible, the Old Testament is you. But again, you know, I don't know. I ain't going to get off into that. But we have our lessons in nature. If we would only, you know, I'm worrying about how the kids are being taught. That's my biggest thing. Our people love this wicked system too much in terms of, I ain't talking about nobody being perfect. Okay. I'm just saying that we want to follow behind the narratives of people that we think have some kind of connection to something. I don't know what it is. But also, fire is impartial. And that impartiality is part of what makes it feel like a reckoning. As I said, it doesn't care what your status or title in America is. It's impartial. It's impartial. And it's going to reckon with whoever you are and wherever you are. Okay? It doesn't negotiate or discriminate. So you can't take the creator creatrix divine laws and negotiate with people or discriminate against people. That ain't going to happen. You might be able to hurt people through the wickedness that and power that you control through fiat. But ultimately, when the creator answers by fire, it's not going to negotiate or discriminate. That's in your hands right now. So if America chooses to walk away from that so be it. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And finally, fire's spiritual meaning as a reckoning agent comes from its dual nature. It destroys illusion. So you got this illusion that they have, you living under. But the real fire that we're seeing now in all the areas and the visions we looked at, it destroys this illusion. Now you're looking at, so the people that needed to see it are now beginning to see it. Oh, this is the illusion we've been living under. Well, guess what? Fire exposes that. And it destroys that illusion. Along with that, it purifies the essence and forces that brings about transformation, and it illuminates truth, not through punishment as you think about, but inevitability. It's inevitable that this is going to happen. I'll end the show with that, brother. You there, brother Lance?
Oh yes, I had to mute it for a second. I didn't realize
okay.
it.
Yep, I'm going to end the show right there, brother.
Excellent presentation as always.
Yeah, I kind of really enjoyed that because it also lets us know that even though we continue to give the power of these entities over our lives, thank God there is a greater force. And that is the only reason. The mistake our people are making right now is that we're not recognizing it. We're not aligning ourselves with it. And we do what one of my brothers told me before, crisis management. And you know, as a collective people, as a default nation, we don't have to do that. Again, everybody knows these statistics that there are countries that survive, and there are millions of people off of far less than what Black people in America. We are what you call a de facto nation, almost $1.5 trillion. Okay. And we'd be in the top 10. I believe it's more than Italy, Spain, Mexico. There are a lot of countries, all of the countries, over 200 countries in the world. We would be in the top 10. Black people in America. So we got to figure out where we're going wrong, because again, this fire is not going to discriminate or negotiate when you're operating like you're doing in this wicked system. So peace and love to you and the family, brother. Hold on to the belts.
Always.
Yeah, always. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait for the title to come on in.
Yes, sir. Take
All right,
care,
brother.
brother.
Thank you so
Peace
much.
and love.
All right. Peace. Peace out. Always. Yes, everybody. There was another great episode with Brother Neil Frazier, aka Metamorphosis. And I look forward to next week. This is the longest part of the week now, because we have to wait for a full week until we have him back again. But he'll be out there taking his downloads and studying and putting stuff together. And I'm just so glad that we're here. I did have a power outage, but the power came right back on. I decided to keep it this way just in case it happened again. They're definitely testing something around here. And there's a lot of construction going on, so that's to be expected. So I have something I'm going to put up again tonight on a relationship level. It should be up in a couple of hours, and I will work on something else that will probably be on a little quicker. We're on a roll here. We're going to keep on going with it. And I love the suggestions for topics that you've been giving to me. Like I said, LanceScurvX.com. That's the website. The original website address is working and brings you back there, LanceScurv.com. They both take you to the same destination. And the email address is very important. When you go there to sign up, there's no cost for anything. Everything is free, and you'll get everything without interruption. There is no shadow banning there. We can go a little more risque on that side of town in our topics. So that being said, my phone is ringing, and I can't pick up because I'm on the phone right now. And we're still going to move on and play a little music and move on out of here. All right? Much love to you all. Peace.